Hey everybody, what's up? Jester here. Today we're going to do something just a little bit different. Now, I am currently standing in my I guess it's no longer a test world since Ozone 3 Kappa mode has been released, but this has been the world that I've been working on, playing through Project Ozone 3's Kappa mode as one of the chosen individuals that got picked to test this pack. Through the time, we encountered so many different crazy things and tested a various bunch of things, but there are two things. There are two things specific that I often got asked about, wanting to see, and they kind of somewhat run hand in hand, and we're going to go ahead and look at those two things now. First, shout out to a very dear friend of mine, Chachava. If it wasn't for seeing this concept that he put together, I wouldn't be doing it myself. And so we have to give credit where credit is due. People usually just come to me for whatever reason. I built it, and here we go. So first things first, we are here in the simple void dimension. And we actually have both of the two setups in the same place, so it makes things kind of easy. The pure focus for why I'm putting this together is actually both being handled here. This is my sifting setup. You can see that there are 3 sifters. I actually went ahead and separated them like gravel, sand, and dust, diamond, iron, and flint meshes. Now, I can't give a reason now why I did separate them. I can tell you that they give different things, and I believe redstone is a perfect example. You want to try and get some redstone. It's a perfect example why you can get it in diamond, but you can't get it in flint, right? Through dust. And then when you look at the flint stiffened mesh, there are other things you can't get. Now, I do know some of these have changed throughout the process, and I wonder if that's why I opted to take the route that I did. But when you're dealing with it in mass quantities, trying to maximize it just even by a small percentage, I found negligible. And then you try and pair it up with this setup, which is the Botania Orchid setup, and it really negates a lot of the things. But the one thing that both of these two things have in common is this setup right here. This is a pair of mechanical users. Well, I guess there's 6 of them, but they work in pairs, taking cobblestone from the cobblestone generator, breaking it down, cobble, gravel, sand, and ultimately turning it into dust. You can see in there we have just over 180 stacks, where the rest of it is pretty much closer to 0. And that's fine. It's working kind of the way I wanted it to. But how this works is you've got one user that is the placer and one user that is the breaker. I'm going to race over here real quick, and you will see the same thing. On top, you have one user that is the breaker, and underneath there is the placer. So, and it's really that simple. However, just for information's sake, so you can see this. For information's sake, I will go ahead and show you exactly how I have these set up. So just give me 1 second. Alright, so we went ahead and loaded up a test world. You can see it is super flat, nothing going on here. We're going to go ahead and start getting what we need out of JEI. Starting with the mechanical users, we're going to need some of that. You're going to need, for at least on the sifting side, you're going to want a sledgehammer. We're going to go get, let's see here, Ender Dragon. That's kind of cool. We'll grab 3 of you. We're going to need a cobble gen. I'm going to go ahead and grab the top tier. If you can get your hands on a top tier cobble gen, that will do probably the best depending on how fast. We're going to need a mill. Go ahead and grab the creative mill, some speed upgrades from good old extra utilities. We'll get a handful of them. And some conduits. Maybe some speed upgrades. Some more speed upgrades. Now, early going, some of these you're not going to have access to. Obviously, your mills, they're going to be a little bit more challenging in the very, very early going of the game, but it is still doable. Especially if you just go ahead and get the water mill. If you've got a mob farm, getting a hold of ender pearls shouldn't be too terrible. It'll also help make your ender or your item conduits. That has helped me tremendously. So getting water mills going, as you can see, everything is pretty basic. Nothing crazy that is Kappa mode. So you should be just fine. We went ahead and dropped the creative mill because we can. In my world, I use the dragon egg mill, and everything works fantastically, especially if you're going to get this full system up and running, lots of speed, lots of setup, things of that nature. All right, go ahead and clear that out. We're going to need... turn you back on. We're going to steal a stack of cobble. I said a stack. Nerd. There we go. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead. You're going to want to set one up facing at you. This is going to be your breaker. Upper left-hand slot only. It's going to be a right-click. And I do believe use item on block. Yes. One other thing you're going to need. Either an item collector. If you can get the advanced item collector, it's great because you could adjust its range. But for now, we're going to go with an absorption hopper. Mostly because you can see it. So you've got 1, 2, and 3 set up. You need some drawers. 1, 2, 3. Now, just so you can kind of place them right. I had flight when I built this, so it made it a lot easier. So you have 1, 2, and 3 facing forward. 1, 2, 3 facing downward. Probably keep this open just in case. Go ahead and get rid of the cobblestone, because we're not going to need that anymore. From here, go ahead and grab the cobblestone generator. Take you and run conduit. The item conduits from Ender.io are real nice because, well, they have the color coordination, so you don't have as much craziness to worry about as you go through the process, right? 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to insert into this. We're going to go ahead and use green side, which is fine. And then extract from here. As you can see, it's already filling up. Now, we need... I use a drawer controller, which makes it obviously easier if you're familiar with how the drawer controller works. Single point of... You're not a drawer controller, nerd. Single point of entry when it comes to all of the things. Let's see, we're going to go ahead, get some sand. We're going to need you. And we're going to get some dust. We're going to need you. And a key. That way, you can lock the drawer in the event that something happens, something unforeseen, and you run empty. It doesn't kind of go wonky, and now you're kind of messed up because you weren't paying attention. And however many hours later, it's like, oh crap, I've got 3 drawers full of gravel, and I have nothing else. which might ultimately end up in a whole ton of diamonds, but if you're looking for redstone, you're pretty much out of luck. Okay, so you have those three connected. Wonderful. So the output, 1, 2, and 3, I will go ahead and put you up here. Now this can go pretty much anywhere. Down. Because that is where we want to pump everything into once it breaks. All right. Well, actually, no, that's not going to work, and you've already screwed it up. White, red, black. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Nope, we can't use colors. And for those who have watched my streams, you guys will know this is pretty much indicative of exactly how I do things. It just seems like a train wreck. And I'm all right with that. So we're going to go with red on the insert for these two. But we need a filter. So we're going to filter in on that one. Go ahead and grab 1 and 2. Filter in input only for sand. On this one, input only for dust. So now what's going to happen is this will only get cobble, and you are already wrong. I could edit these, but I think it's kind of, I don't know, a little bit better to see that there are screw-ups. And you can see how I work through them. So from here, you're going to input only gravel, which will become sand. This one will input only sand to become the dust that you are looking for. And as we go ahead and check that you are done, you are not, and you are not, I'm going to go ahead and get this rocking and rolling. So we're going to go ahead, place block. Over and over and over again. Now this is out of its range. This will be flat. Go ahead and show area. As you can see with where that's placed, it needs to move down. This is why I like this one. So as you see, you adjust the offset and it's on the ground, and everything that is breaking is now going into this system. So as we look in here, we're at 27, 28, so on and so forth when it comes to gravel. So now once we go through and set this up, I'm going to go ahead and disable that one. You are not quite getting it. I think I have to turn this on. Yes. Now that gravel has a place to go, it's going to go in through here. Place block. We haven't put the hammer in there yet. And set it to and so on and so forth. And now sand is finally going in to the last one. Now you can keep this on random. I generally keep it on random. I'm gonna go ahead and place block. I'm gonna put the third hammer in there and get it set up. Left click. And there you go. So that's going to keep, and that is the most basic setup. You are now generating all of these. Now when it comes to getting the sifters set up, go ahead and give me a brief moment. I will go ahead and get some of that set up real quick. For that, we'll need some sieves, mesh. I'm going to go with the iron just because we can. The auto-sifter you're going to need. Some axles. Nope, you spelled it wrong. And water wheels. Not to be confused with the immersive engineering ones. You're going to want the ones from Xnilo. Now, as you can see here, nothing crazy going on. So you should be good to get at this pretty early. Here's the only complication. You will need regular water wheel segments, which means you're going to need treated wood, which means you're going to have to get at the other stuff pretty quick from immersive engineering. All right. I usually set mine up 5x5. I think that is the max that the auto sifters will handle. Somebody knows better, and somebody knows better. I find this to have been a nice quality setup for mine, especially when you want to start looking at adding more of them. Because with this system, the one thing that is not being handled is netherrack turning into crushed netherrack. Because when you actually put this through the process, and here is a perfect example why diamond is always better. Prosperity shard only drops from the iron stiffened mesh, but titanium and tungsten, if you're going to need that stuff early on for some of the other upgrades, here you go. It will also get you access to cobalt and ardite for manulin. This has a 100% drop rate for gold, and then some of the gems. Now, a slight pro tip, if you've already looked at the craziness that is armor progression. We've seen this madness, right? Well, if you didn't know, Ruby is a perfect example. Ruby armor, it might not be the best, but you know what? It's better than zero. Anyhow, crushed netherrack is one of the few things, that and crushed endstone is the two things that my system is not currently designed to handle. So when you look at this, you can get draconium, prosperity, and ender lilies. But you'll be getting draconium soon enough. All right, 5x5. You're going to grab the auto-sifter, place it under the bottom center, and you will see the kind of lattice work that says, hey, we're all connected. Fantastic. Grab yourself some stone axles, and you connect them out. Now, obviously, you saw that I had an entire kind of designed framework around it. You don't need that if you don't want it. You're going to need something to channel water. That is a true statement. Let's go ahead and put that in. Here, put the water wheel in first. If you also have a wand at this time, it would be very, very handy. So we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves a wand. Now, unlike other water wheels, as you can see, it's being kind of blocked by the stone, but fortunately, when we grab our water bucket, now I set mine up for 8. When we grab our water bucket, you will see that it runs just fine. Does not hinder the fact that the water wheel goes through the water. You will also notice that the entire lattice work starts to shimmy. So, to get this going, what you will end up doing is you want to pump whichever one of these you're doing. So if it's going to be, if you're going to put this one for gravel, right? Because you're on that early push. You want to get yourself started with some diamonds. So you just pipe that into here. We're going to bypass you. We don't need you. You are coming out on red. Fantastic. Disable you. All right, we are going to need Gravel actually might not be the best choice because we're getting low on it. We're going to go to the other side. We're going to go with dust because why not? That is the end point that we're dealing with currently. All right, so input dust. And then we want you to be red. So slowly but surely, it will start adding dust to your setup. Fantastic. The next phase, the next step, I'm going to go ahead and grab a crate. I have a whole ton of these set up. You can see everything falling. Again, we have absorption hoppers already, which same reason why they're fantastic. You can adjust their range. So looking at it there, it can go up other way. And just like that. So if you look, it is smack dab in the center. Isn't terrible. It's already full. Get my bearings real quick. We want this north side. Items. Yep. And it's dumping it right on in. All this mess. Now this is why in my setup it actually sits within some resemblance of a frame. Go ahead and frame this out real quick. Wand, do your thing. All right. That way, it doesn't fly everywhere. It's all completely self-contained and can be picked up by the absorption hopper. We'll go ahead and throw all of you back in there. Picked up by the absorption hopper and ready to process, however you're going to choose to process it. Obviously, I am using zenith furnaces, and it sends it through, and it does all the things it needs to do. And that, in a very, very basic nutshell, is exactly how I have my sifter set up. Take this entire concept, rotate it 90 degrees. I have a second one, rotate that another 90 degrees, and I have a third one. And that is literally all my system is doing. Once you take into consideration you have I'm using the zenith furnace only because of speed, because these things can be fairly quick. But do not forget with these things, they do have a they're pretty quick, but they are individually sighted. You have to input through the top, output through the bottom. I have them upgraded to take power, so I don't have to worry about adding extra fuel. So that is a little bit later on. You can choose to operate this however you wish, because we all know that I do believe it is the gravel will produce charcoal. So any option you choose for a furnace, that will go through and cook whatever you can once it is it a packager? Or is it a compactor? It's the compactor. Once you have these things up and running. And these things are kind of cool. They do take power. Whatever they put in, they will compact it into a 2x2. It's got a full setup here, so it'll hold a ton and then dumps it in. I think mine are set up like that, to where it uses item translocators, dumps directly in, and then the item translocator into an ender chest on the bottom. Once we hop back into the other world, we'll be able to figure that one out. Or I'll be able to go ahead and show you that. So quite simply, that is literally all it takes. Now the other thing we're going to look at is the Botania setup. Let's go ahead and get this inventory cleared. All right, for Botania, we are using the Endo Flames. We'll grab a stack of you. And then the floating Endo Flame. We're going to need redstone torches. We're going to need droppers this time. We're going to need a pressure plate of the wooden variety. We're going to need some sort of either coal or you can use anything that burns that you can pump out. I have mine set up for coal, so I have a little coal farm that is actually going through and making all of my coal, pumping it through an analog crafter and giving all of what I need to the dropper. Actually, we're going to go ahead and put the dropper there. Raise this up just a little bit so I can show you exactly what it is I'm talking about. Let's see here. We can get some overgrowth seeds. Now, if you don't know where to get these, you can get them from your loot bags, and this will greatly improve what it is that they do by generating all of the manas that you need. Well, not all of it, but these don't die, unlike some of the passively generating stuff, so that is all nice and well. Coal. Oh yeah, doesn't work that way anymore. So much has changed in the 8 years that I've done this. It'd be smarter if I just had like a system set up. But again, that would be smarter. Anyhow, redstone torch activates it. Probably did it backwards. So, activates it, pushes a piece of coal, which deactivates it, and it toggles back and forth. Basic setup for it, right? We're going to start with the regular mana spreader, and we'll eventually move to the dwarven. Or the elven, excuse me. It's weird. But I wonder if it's because there's nothing for it to do. We'll grab the wand of the forest. Yep, that's what I thought. Always learning new things. I mean, you kind of know how they are, but explaining them is kind of where some of the challenge begins. All right. So this does get derpy from time to time. Simple reset. And you will see as a pressure plate is released, it drops another one. So it's kind of like, I guess the term is a toggle latch. We're going to need a mana pool. I'm going to go ahead and grab you. Now, if you have not seen the crafting recipe for a mana pool, you will notice you are not getting into this early. You have to go through Lordcraft and get all the craziness of Lordcraft just to even get started in Botania. Because you need the Verdant Crystal just to make a mana spreader. And then you also need the Apothecary Cauldron, which is a ton of reliquary stuff. So you want to be emptying your loot bags the best the best that you can. Mob farms are your friend. Alright, so as you can see, this will run non-stop. What I have done is I have added the floating variety. Because you might have noticed in my inventory before, I had the Manaseer's monocle. This thing, Manaseer monocle. Alright. Which is nice to where you can see the range. So it's picking up all that stuff around it. You now have that one dispenser feeding 16. The problem you'll encounter is, as you can see, it's already full, and there is no way that it could keep up. So the second step that I did from this point is I added another spreader to it, right? So we're going to go ahead and link these to the top, not the bottom one. So it is once again split 8-to-1, not 16-to-1. You going to work? Probably not, because you need to be pointed. Nerd, do your job. You are still connected to the top one. See, I am a big derp. I screw up all the time. But the end goal is what's important. So now, as you can see, both of them are rocking and rolling. But you'll notice that it is still filling up pretty quick. There's still some residual left over, and it is at a surplus. So the next step could be, if you so choose, you have the lenses. All of these things, right? Problem with these is to get that, it requires electrical steel. And that's just to get started with lenses. And if you want to do like the efficiency, you're getting into runes. Where is velocity? There's potency. I think velocity is the ones that I'm using. Lens, velocity requires the rune of air, which, as you can tell, requires blood magic and more lordcraft. This is where things get pretty deep, but we're not here to talk about lordcraft. So I have pretty much this setup going all throughout. You would have seen there were, I believe, 5 of them. 5 pairs, right? So let me go ahead and get another one of these set up. All right, ready to rock and roll. Now the big difference we're doing this time is we're actually using the Elven Mana Spreaders. To make these bad boys, you need a block of the Verdant Crystal, but you're going to need Elementium. Elementium, well, let's just say it's not the easiest. You're going to need some Terra Steel, which means you're going to need stuff like this already set up, and it's going to take a whole minute. So the sooner you get into Botania, the sooner you're going to be able to get a setup kind of like this. If it's what you're going for, I would recommend it simply because the Orchid is something special. Now, for essences that we all know we're going to need thousands and thousands and thousands of, right? Perfect example, just for the Supremium essence, its uses. The reprocessor, its own furnace, Supremium coal, apples, things of that nature. You need them for the various cruxes, for the top tier seeds, Insanium essence. So there are various things it's going to be needed for. You get into advanced crafting, this is required for tier 5. So you can see that there is quite a bit of stuff, but the Supremium coal is the reason why I'm pointing this out. The Supremium coal is used into making dark matter. You need dark matter to even get started with Project E. That and Eternalist fuel, which, as we all know, comes from the Philosopher's Stone. But this nightmare is not at question at the moment. So you're going to need that. So you are going to need a ton of the essence. But all of these essences require various ores from Landia. The top of them being the Frisian, or however you choose to pronounce this particular word. Now, to get this stuff, and you can see, yes, there is a singularity for it, which requires 9,001 blocks. We are not mathing. But the only way to find this is to either mine in Landia, and if you want to do the math to figure out how many of those are going to be needed, so be it, or you run it through an Orchid, which is what we are doing. So you have to get this set up, in my opinion. You can't go without it. So let's get this set up once again. And just have to make sure we click correctly. Hey, and they configured it for us. How nice. All right, so they're pointing in the right direction. We already have coal in here. We already have a pressure plate. Fantastic. Get the toggle going. And there it goes. It's off to the races. See, this one has already broken. I'm not sure what it is that breaks these. But from time to time, you might have to keep an eyeball on it. There might be other ways of doing it. I'm sure there are better ways of doing it. On one of mine, I haven't had a problem with this. On the other, it's just been an absolute nightmare. So, it is what it is. Man, I hate when I do that. As you can see, still full. It is still full. So, you need to find what works, right? Was it the velocity? No, I'm second guessing myself. Yes, velocity. Now you can see it is running its course down. Once everything catches up, hopefully the top row will get ignited. And then it'll keep going, doing what it needs to do. Now, have a whole bunch of these set up because you're going to want to keep this as full as absolutely possible. The next step is the orchid itself. If you're unfamiliar with the orchid, and to be truthful, I was mostly unfamiliar with it until I got started with this playthrough, right? We're going to go ahead, place you facing up. 6 and 7. We're going to grab you. And then 6, 7. And like that one, the bottom ones instead of the top ones are going to be placing stone. Pure stone. So how mine is set up is I have another cobble generator running through a zenith furnace, pumping in stone. So it takes cobble, cooks it. If you can't figure out how that portion works, I can't help you. Sorry. We're going to need a pick. So anything unbreakable would be preferential. I would recommend Silk Touch as well because of stuff like diamonds and things of that nature. Unless you want to go through and put fortune on all of them, that's your call. Place, fantastic. Left click. And it's going to break it. Oh, sponge already has Silk Touch. Fantastic. But it's going to break it over time. This is fairly slow, as you can see. And this is kind of where we didn't even touch speed upgrades. This is where you're going to want some type of timer set up because you want to make sure you're getting it as fast as you can. Hey, look at that. To where you're not breaking stone as opposed to breaking the ores. But you also are going to have a problem due to its durability, and not durability, but its mining level. So we'll put something in there like this one, coal. And it drops actual coal instead of the ores it's supposed to be dropping. I'm going to go ahead, place, and that is, in the simplest possible nutshell, how it works. What you're going to encounter is this will run out of mana pretty quick. And you can set this up as large as you want. I have found that the way I have it set up is most efficient to run nonstop the way that I have mine. What are you doing? Are you broke? You're broke. Yeah, you're broke. Like I said, I don't know exactly what causes it. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. There are probably far more efficient ways of doing it. I've never been one for efficiency. I am far more how much can it take to get everything. I max out to the best of my ability, which is probably also why it takes me so long just to do things. But it is what it is. This is the skeletal framework of how I have gone about getting a lot of the stuff that I have in my ozone world. So give me 1 second and we're going to hop right back into that one. As you can see, far more in quantity. These are running non-stop. You can see I haven't had any issues. Where I went and had to make changes, as you can see, there is a redstone, vanilla redstone signal running through. Goes into the back of this stone block. The reason is, on the underside, I have a redstone conduit, which runs to all of these, that when this dips to a power level of 0, you can see it flickering back and forth, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, over and over. It will turn off and turn back on this system. That way, I'm not getting more stone. You can see that I've accumulated 4,000 stone through this process, and while those ores, those are the key ores I was telling you, remain 0, things like diamond ore, I'm up to 50,000. And you can see a lot of these, well into the hundreds, if not thousands of stacks. I haven't even begun to think about processing all of these. Even yellowite for reactors and such, uranium for some of the fuels, things of that nature. There's a bunch of lapis. There's tungsten from Pluto. Do I have gold twice? No, that's pyrite. But I think there's lead twice because of galena. But it's okay. We haven't begun processing these. I don't know if I'm actually going to. Had I started this a lot sooner, maybe I would have. You can see here we are getting tons of coal. This could be processed a different way instead of using a farm. But for now, we've got the farm running into a pair of analog crafters that are mostly full. So that's what I changed it to. Because it runs non-stop, I changed it to timers. So it will constantly push it. Because I guess it's at just the right potential where I'm not losing any. So there you go. That was my efficiency fix. A timer with a delay of 60 ticks, which is roughly 3 seconds. And it's go baby go. And we sit pretty much 3/4 full non-stop. And it is all glorious. Now, how we are processing this stuff, because if we go into my ME system, and I haven't started processing the essences yet. We're looking at 609,000 Frisian, and then you go on up the line. This is set up to continuously make the stuff that we need for endo flames. We have a little bit of bone meal. This makes all of my sand, because down here is where we are taking all of the ores as they come in. Let's see if we're going to get one in here. Racheline, right? Racheline ore, which is one of them. What this is, the induction smelter with the pyro concentrator and the auxiliary sieve, which gives me a higher chance of getting rich slag, and it's actually Garfax. But blazing pyrotheum with the sand, within this, you will see it gives you, instead of doubling it, it triples it. Now for the rich slag stuff, Obviously, I don't currently need it. I could reprocess it and send it down another line to where if we want to take some of these other ores and quadruple them, we can. Same setup, but we can still do that with the rich slag. We have 94,000 of the stuff. But we have another system that is maintaining blazing pyrotheum, and it dumps right back into this ender chest, and this ender chest is 100% responsible for dumping into our storage system for ingots. And that's all sand that comes from here. This is a sand gen using astral sorcery. If you have more questions about that, by all means let me know. And then the aquamarine shale. If we head back over here, you will see when I was talking about the compactors, they get powered. There's the chest, same chest. What's in here? Ah, these are parts. Speed upgrade, fuel upgrade, or processing upgrade. And you can see if anything pops in, it's barely in there fast enough to be seen. But this is the only thing that's giving me iron. And just so you know, I've got 4.3 million iron ingots. You're going to need a lot of materials through this playthrough. You're going to. There's no way around it. And these are the two setups that I use. This I will probably be duplicating either over here, or I'll flip it backwards or something. I don't know yet because I want to increase this because I don't know how much of this stuff we're going to need. Through the next week, as of the recording of this video, I will be trying to set up a system that will auto-make all of my essences and give me and store a complete storage drawer full and then go to the next one. So my system will read, hey, you have a stack of this essence, a stack of that essence, and so on down the line. And I might even set it up for the ingots. So, but that is an entirely different case, and we're not going to worry about that at this time. If there's more stuff like this that you've seen me do that you want to see, by all means let me know, either in the Discord or in the comment section below, and I will see what I can't do. And once again, a huge shout out to my friend Chachava, because if I didn't see it on his stream, because he is one of the other testers, I would not have come up with it myself, and people wouldn't have been asking me to make this particular video. Anyhow, if you're rocking Kappa mode, good luck. I would love to hear some progress. I would love to see some screenshots. I would love to just get some feedback on it. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.